Welcome everyone back to episode 2 of the Fortuitous Podcast. It's Calvin and Drew again. Drew, how you doing?
I'm doing good. That's about it. I'm doing good. It's Monday. It is what it is.
We're reaching the end of our winter break. Did you have a good holiday season with the family?
Yeah, I did. It was nice. I didn't really do anything outstanding. I didn't really celebrate with anybody other than my parents, but it was nice. It is what it is.
Yeah, I pretty much did the same thing, only immediate family. Especially with COVID, it's kind of hard to...
Yeah.
Everyone's doing their own thing, and it's not usually recommended to do that at this time.
Yeah, it's just difficult. I had a Zoom call with some other people, but like my grandma and stuff. But other than that, it's...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't really get to see anybody. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I had a Zoom call on Thanksgiving with my grandma as well. Not Christmas, Thanksgiving, but... So that was fun.
Yeah, the one I had was like right after Christmas. We got my grandma a tablet to use, and she's too old to figure out how to use it. So I pretty much had to do all of the setting up. So I had to get her account logged in, I had to set up Zoom, and I had to get literally everything working. And then we pretty much just had to give it to her and say, click these buttons and you can talk to us. So
what brand was it of the tablet?
We just got like a basic, like a cheap Samsung one. My dad just asked for like the cheapest tablet you can get that has a camera on it. So
yeah, and for Zoom, that's all you really need.
Yeah,
don't need anything too crazy. Simple. My grandma actually she's pretty good at using like her iPad to like FaceTime and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember
in my family is very technologically gifted.
Your tech support?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. But as we know, usually it's just, have you tried turning it on and off again?
Yeah.
Solves 99% of the issues.
That's what it always ends up being.
So for you, Drew, when do you start class again?
I start back up on this Wednesday, the 13th.
Wednesday. I started mine today. So we're both still back home, but I'm moved back for this next semester because all my classes moved online only. But for you, you're moving back to campus, correct?
Yep, I'll be moving back in a couple of weeks when I get my bearings in order. And I do have one in-person class, so...
Oh, you still have one in person. That's good.
Yep. It's just like every other day, and my professor won't give us... Like, there's, like, classroom capacities, so he only gives us, 1 day a week or whatever.
Yeah, it's good you have at least one, because that was the main reason I just decided to move back, because I didn't feel like paying for room and board, and then just sitting in your dorm all day just on Zoom calls when you could just be at home with your family.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
But yeah, we were going to talk about how COVID has kind of affected our lives throughout the last about 6 months or more now, or reaching about 6 to 12 months now.
Yeah, we're
because
almost
obviously we were both in class of 2020, so we kind of didn't have the normal senior year that most people had or talk about.
So I figured the class that we had our entire senior year stolen from us.
Well, not the entire year.
Well, the good parts.
2019 was not too bad. So yeah, it was September. It was pretty normal. I remember, Drew, you had to eat that hot chili pepper someone brought to lunch.
Oh, no.
That was fun.
Yeah, I remember doing that. He grew ghost peppers in his backyard and then brought them into school. And
you were like...
That was a bad idea.
You were like, I can eat it. I can eat it.
Yep.
It's not that bad. It won't be that bad.
I remember spending like the next 45 minutes after I ate that just eating straight mustard packets to try and get the taste out of my mouth, because that's what they all told me to do in the lunchroom. They're
that's
just
a
giving
thing?
me things.
Mustard actually negates
No, it did not help me. I mean, it probably helped with the spice a little bit, but I don't like mustard to begin with. So it definitely just was not a good combo. It was either suffer with a burning sensation or suffer with a condiment I don't even like.
Wasn't
So,
it? Aren't you? You're not supposed to drink water, but you're supposed to drink milk, right? Isn't that what they say?
yep. Yeah.
Wonder why that is.
I honestly I know I've heard it before, but I don't really remember. I think water just doesn't it's not like soothing. It's not smooth, and that's what like milk and other things like that can do.
Yeah. So after that, we had, what was it? September, October, November. It was going pretty normal, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it was definitely normal. I was actually really enjoying my first trimester of senior year. I had a lot of classes I really liked, and
Same.
it was really laid back. I was it was honestly the highlight of my entire high school time, I would say, that first trimester of senior year.
I would agree because, well, depending on how you do it, usually by senior year, you get most of your required classes out of the way, except for like maybe two. So the majority of your classes are just ones that you're interested in or for fun. So it's usually like what you said, pretty laid back, pretty casual, not a lot of homework or anything too crazy. And
Yeah, I had a
then
ton of fun with it.
and then we went on the winter break, and then that was normal too. Do you remember the first time you heard of COVID or anything like that?
I definitely remember hearing about it on that first winter break. Like when we were gone, I remember hearing like, oh, 10 people in China are infected and a few people here and a few people there. And I just remember thinking it wasn't that big of a deal to begin with. How about you?
For me, it was New Year's Eve, I believe. I was with my family, and my uncle was there, and he was reading the news. And then he was reading, like, at the time, I guess it was coronavirus, but at the time I didn't remember that. It was just like some random virus. And then I was like, okay, weird, but I guess it's only in China. And then, we have New Year's, and then that first January, you kind of hear a little bit more about it. But then, I don't know, was it February that, like, they first said the first case in the US happened? Or around there? Well, I think they kept switching back and forth with info. But it was around that January, February time that it kind of became more of a widespread thing that everyone started talking about.
Yeah, it was probably right around in February when it started becoming like an issue around here. Like that's when they had the first couple cases in like California, and not long after there was that whole cruise ship that was quarantined, right?
Yeah, I remember that. And we were like, what? That was crazy. And then we had spring break, and it was like, I remember this vividly. Like the week before spring break in class, people were talking about like, oh, this virus is getting way worse. It's spreading across the world, blah blah blah. And everyone was talking about like we might not come back to school right away at the end of spring break. And I was like, no way that's gonna happen. And I remember one of my teachers was like, yeah, I'd be surprised if we come back in the first week and a half. And I was like, what? No way. So, spring break happens, I'm on vacation with my family, and then literally over, at least for me, over that vacation time, it went like at the airport, like leaving was totally normal. But then taking the airplane back was like no one was there, everyone had masks on. It was like a total 180 switch. So I feel like that was for me the when it kind of started. Was the very
So,
end of February.
so where did you go on your trip?
My family and I went to Hawaii. And
Okay.
we actually left Hawaii at the perfect time because if we stayed one more day, they actually they basically closed off like anyone leaving or coming to the state or the island that we were on. So like
Yeah, I
we would
remember
have we
hearing
would have
about
been
that.
stuck. Like I think I heard a few people online saying like they got stuck like in Europe because Europe closed their borders, or not Europe, but most of the countries in Europe closed their borders. So you're
I
like just
definitely
stuck
remember
there.
hearing about that with Hawaii. I remember when you were there actually, because it was like they were talking about setting in like a 14-day quarantine for everybody, and then you
Yeah.
were still there. And I remember talking to you about that, how you were worried if you were going to get home safe.
But yeah, we literally left like the last day before that all like started.
Yeah.
And
Man,
then
I gotta say, I think it was so interesting to hear about that going up into March, because I remember some of the same stuff you do, how people were talking about how classes might get canceled after spring break is over. And
mhm.
there's one thing I remember super well. I just remember on like my last class on the last day before spring break, one of my teachers who I had again for the next trimester, she said, I'll see you guys real soon. And I just remember thinking when we switched to online classes how poorly that aged.
Yeah. And I remember that week because I think for our school they said we're gonna get an extra week off from spring break. So instead of a week, it was gonna be 2 weeks. And I think everyone was like, "Oh, sweet! It's just an extra week off, and then we'll go back to normal." And then they just extended it a few more days, and then they sent an email to everyone saying, "Yep, we're switching to online only for the rest of this trimester, or the next two
Yeah.
trimester till the end of this school year." And that was like, I think shocked everyone really, because I don't think anyone thought it was gonna go for that long. I think everyone thought it would be like, "Oh, we're gonna have a 3 week quarantine, and then we're gonna go back to normal."
So, did you have any reactions? Like, what were your thoughts about the pandemic right when like school started getting canceled and we started going into all of the online classes and stuff? Were you worried about it? How did you feel?
I wasn't really worried about it until we got, at least for me, until we got back and the school said we're going to online for the rest of the year. That kind of put in perspective me like, okay, this thing's real. This is happening. It's not like a week long thing that's gonna go away. Like this is gonna be here for a while. But at the time, because what would that be like March? At the time, I probably thought by summer, so like June, it would have been over. Like I'd be like, okay, so it's gonna be like 3 months or something, but not as long as it's been so far. But yeah, right around the beginning of March, I would say, is when I said, okay, this thing's real. This is a serious thing.
I remember I had like the biggest like change of how I thought about it, and it happened so fast because I went from being like at the beginning of March to not caring about it, not following it, not paying attention to anything, to like initially being excited that we were finally getting days off of school. We were getting a break from everything.
Hmm.
And then the next couple weeks I was just scared. Like I really didn't want to go out. I I remember I told my girlfriend that I didn't want to hang out with her in person very much because I was worried about getting her sick or her getting me sick. And I just remember being so skeptical about it. And it was a horrible experience, honestly, because it's just like this big thing, and some people were saying it's like the flu, and some people were saying it's way worse, and I just didn't know what to think. So I was just so scared, staying at home. I didn't really do anything.
Yeah, I was about to say for us, with having online classes, um, it was scary because you didn't. I mean, we've never went through something like this before, so we had no expectations of what was going to happen. But I think for us personally, I think it was a little bit easier than some other people because for us we were still in high school, so we didn't have like a job, or we had jobs, but it wasn't like we were living off of it. And for us people who play games, that wasn't really affected during this time. Versus someone that, if their hobby's sports, pretty much all the high school sports got canceled, all the um external sports that aren't through the high school got canceled. I mean, professional sports got canceled too. So like if you're any type of sports fan, that like really changed this year. Versus I feel like gaming didn't change at all. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do remember right when this started happening though, some esports started getting canceled. I remember I think they had to reschedule like a CS:GO major and like a bunch of stuff like that. There were a lot of like esports events that got canceled. But other than that, I mean, this is like this whole pandemic has been like prime gaming time. It's been really good for
Exactly.
people who play video games. Steam has reached its peak for how many online players it's had like ever during this. It's that's definitely one industry that the pandemic has definitely helped is online gaming.
for sure. And with the next gen consoles coming out in 2020, people were like, "Oh, are they gonna not sell well because so many people, losing their jobs, they're getting furloughed or they're getting temporary suspended till, this thing blows over." But I think like with stuff like that people weren't thinking were necessities actually got more popular because people were sitting home all day like bored, like can't watch sports, I can't do anything. It's like what are we supposed to do? You know what? Let me pick up that Xbox that I haven't played in 10 years.
Yeah, it definitely did. Changing topics though, what did you think about your online classes? How did that go for you? Did you enjoy having the randomly thrown online classes for the whole trimester?
I loved it personally. Like we were saying earlier, most of the classes were, not were they were required, but they weren't like English and stuff. It was like ceramics or art or something or psychology. So it was like more fun classes. So basically, at least for us, they didn't actually host any classes live. They just posted videos at 9 a.m. and then it was like a 10-minute lesson and then usually like a page of like a Google Doc you had to like fill out. So for me, it at max took me 45 minutes to an hour to finish all five of my classes. Versus normally, high school's like 6, 7 hours. So I actually like that because I had more time during the day to just do other stuff.
I feel the exact same way. I think the longest I ever spent on schoolwork in one single day was probably 3 hours, and I just had a ton of stuff to do, and I did it all, and got it done, and just relaxed the rest of the day. It was so nice to have shorter days where you just get the work done, and for me at least, I felt like I was getting the same level of education. Like
Oh, I
I
agree.
don't think it fell off that much as far as like not being in person. I actually really like learning online because of like what you just explained, how you can do everything on your own time and it's just so much more laid back.
Looking back at it, I feel like if we had 4 years of this, I think we could have done all of high school like in 2 years or less. If it was all asynchronous, or if you had like 10 classes a trimester, because if it takes you an hour to do five, it would take you 2 hours to do 10. And then that's half your classes you're getting done at twice the speed. So that would have been interesting as well if they just offered an asynchronous high school version that you could just go to.
Yeah, I feel like the one problem with that though was that I know for a fact not everybody felt the same way as us where online school was easy. I know a lot of people who have tried online school and just can't learn in an asynchronous format. So that would be a lot more difficult, especially if they asked, more classes than normal. That would be super difficult for someone who doesn't enjoy online learning. But I totally understand where you're coming from.
Oh, I agree with that too, because I have two other family members. One of them struggled a little bit with school in person, and then the other person succeeded well. And then once all the schools went to online, it kind of flipped. Like the other person got really good at, getting their stuff done right away, and then the other person took a little bit longer to adjust to the online format. So I think in a perfect world, once this blows over or gets over with, that this every school offers both formats, which best whatever the student thinks they can succeed the best in. Because I feel like that'll probably see better grades overall for the school. Because I feel like everyone learns differently.
Yeah, I think that help out a lot of schools, giving people the option to do both for everything, like all of your classes, one way or the other. Because I would like a way to switch it, like every trimester, semester, whatever, to like some classes, or like I'd have a semester of in person and one of online. I would like something like that because I feel like there's some classes you almost have to be in person for,
But yeah,
but the ones that you don't would be super convenient to just take everything online.
like one of our friends took ceramics during the shutdown, and literally, I remember him saying, you just had to take pictures of things around your house that you could make in ceramics with clay. I'm like, that's so sad because that's like not what ceramics was about when I took it. So yeah,
Yeah,
classes like that you would have to be in person pretty much.
the other class I remember I had a friend that was in was strength training, lifting weights, stuff like that. I remember listening to him talk about like I mean, I actually had a gym class too in my last trimester, but it was just like once a week they wanted us to log an hour of activity or something like that. And it was just like I think it got to a point where almost nobody was doing the work anymore. And it was really sad, honestly, to hear about our gym teachers because they're, I mean, gym teachers, but no one does the work and
Yeah.
they cared so little about people actually doing it that they're not like fact checking you to see if you actually did work or not.
And I don't feel like they could unless you filmed yourself working out for an hour, which is just kind of crazy because that'd be way too much work. I mean, there's not really, you just gotta hope that they're actually doing the work.
Yeah, I remember in my class, my teacher gave us an assignment where we had to take a picture of like an activity we were doing. So I just went on a walk with my dog and took pictures of him. I took like 3 pictures in different spots, and then when she asked for that again, I just gave a different picture.
Nice.
It
Um,
worked out. Worked out though.
but yeah,
Whatever works.
I feel like if you picked strength training as an elective, you probably want to actually do exercise. Versus like freshman year, you were forced to do gym, so it's like not everyone wants to do that. Um, but the nice thing about having gym during the shutdown is you can work out at home and take a shower and everything right after. Versus if you had gym at 7 a.m. or I guess it'd be like 8 a.m. at the high school, you'd be like just dirty and smelly the rest of the day, which was kind of annoying. I remember that not being fun like sophomore year.
Yeah, definitely. I remember having the same thing. I always had my gym class right away in the morning, and then I'd just be dirty the whole rest of the day. It kind of sucked.
So yeah, we had those classes for the second half of trimester 2. And then trimester 3 we started all online. Like we didn't even like at least trimester 2 we started off in person. We kind of knew the teachers because you met them in person. But trimester 3 you didn't meet them in person at all unless you had them for another class like a year before. And I don't know about you, but for me, I thought we were gonna switch to a Zoom call, like live stream, like everything's in person, like or not in person, but like live versus asynchronous. But we just kept doing the same thing, just pretty much an hour worth of work every day, and then you're pretty much done.
Yeah, I feel like the problem was a lot of teachers didn't even know, like, for things like math, especially, like, how do you get that entire class where they have all these things laid out to do it in person? How do you get that online in a week?
Yeah,
So I feel like classes like that, they were so focused on just getting all of the content online that they didn't even have time to try and set up calls or anything like that.
for sure. And then at the end of try 3 was when we were supposed to have graduation. And I remember the school sending an email about halfway through try 3. They were like, "Don't worry, guys. We're gonna do our best to do a normal graduation. If we can't do it at the normal auditorium, we'll try to find another place." So there was still hope. But then wasn't it about 2 weeks before graduation that they were like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna happen."
Yeah, another poorly aged email.
Yeah, exactly. It was
I
so
remember
sad.
I remember what they did end up doing. I didn't like the format they chose to give our graduation. They had, I don't know if you watched it at all. It was super optional, but it was like they had like a TV broadcast and a
Yeah, I
couple
watched
people
it.
gave commencement speeches and they flashed every student's picture on the screen. I
It was
I
so
don't
bad.
think that was good at all. Yeah,
It
it
was
was
just
really cheesy.
it was just our school picture. It wasn't even our graduation picture. Like,
Yeah. It just seemed really low effort. Like they
yeah.
just kind of panicked and just got everyone's picture and threw it together. Might as well have been a glorified yearbook.
Yeah, it was basically a yearbook, but in video form. And then we had to drive through the parking lot to get our diplomas.
Yeah, drive through graduation.
Fast food, fast diploma drive through. And then we had summer, which was pretty a little bit different because we couldn't hang out as much with everyone just because with, obviously with everything going on. And I think that was the peak of like the mask mandate and restaurants shutting down and all of that. And it was kind of a weird time because at the beginning, I don't know if you remember this, Drew, but weren't people like saying you shouldn't buy masks because you have to reserve them for like the emergency responders, the first responders, stuff like that. But then as summer went on, there were obviously people were making more masks. Then they were like, okay, everyone should be wearing a mask all the time. And then that was kind of a point of I don't know, argument for a lot of people because some people, like what you're saying, it's just a flu. Other people are saying it's the most deadly virus ever. I mean, there's pretty much every people all over the board for what they thought about it. And even now, I feel like the information is just all over the place. I feel like it'll be interesting once this is over. I think I've told a few people like we'll probably get a Netflix original documentary about, everything that was right and everything that wasn't true and all the facts. It'll be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Yeah, it definitely will. But before we move on, I wanted to ask you one more thing. I know we
hmm
discussed it a little bit earlier, but how did you feel about like prom getting canceled and stuff like that? Were you actually going to plan on going that last year? Or were you just thinking
I
about it?
were not really no. I think I mean maybe if we had a group of friends go, but definitely not by myself. No. Because normally, I don't know, for me they're kind of I mean it's just like you're in the gym and it's I don't know, it just doesn't seem that much fun to me. But Drew, I know you went to the junior prom and that wasn't that on a boat?
Yep, that was on the boat.
And you said it was okay. It wasn't like super fun or I can't remember. What did you think of that?
I yeah, kind of what you said. It was okay. It was about everything was about what I expected it to be. The only thing I didn't like about it was the food that they served on the ship. It was really poorly done at how people got served, and based on where I was sitting, I got like the last pick to go up and get food.
Oh no.
So I walked through and they had like I can't remember exactly what kinds of food they had, but they had all these trays set out and almost every single one was empty. So there was just no food left by the time I got
Picked
up
over.
there. Yeah.
Dang. The
But
one
I was still really excited to go senior year. Like I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah, do we even know what they were gonna do? Was it just gonna be on the boat again?
Yeah, they were planning on doing it on the boat again, doing the same system they had done before.
Like the boat is cool, but the one thing I wouldn't like about that is if you were sick or wanted to go home early, you're kind of like locked in because like you can't leave. I mean, you're on a boat in the middle of the river, so you're kind of like there for I don't know what is it, 6 hours or so.
Not even probably 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, it's only okay. I thought it was a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
it was fairly short. It was just it was a pretty simple thing that they did to put it together. It was just like they have everything laid out right away, and then they have like tables and chairs. Everyone takes their table, and then after everyone got to eat, they just moved all of the tables. The first floor became a dance floor, and then the second and third floor were just big empty rooms with a few chairs still set up. That's really all it was.
Did you dance?
Yes, I did. I was
Very, very
killing it
nice.
on the dance floor.
Very nice. I'm not much of a dancer myself, but that's cool.
See, that's the thing, Calvin. Nobody's a dancer. You just gotta believe in yourself and start moving. That's the key to being a good dancer.
Just start moving. Did you do the Orange Justice?
No, I didn't do Fortnite emotes.
You should have. Would have shown that you're a pro gamer. I don't know.
I don't think I could have lived with myself doing Fortnite emotes in front of everybody I was friends with.
True. So then after prom being canceled, where were we? Oh yeah, and then we were getting our college dorms. I mean, everyone was trying to figure out what college was gonna do. And I know we went to different schools, but at least for my school, they came out early and said everyone's gonna get their separate dorm room. So everyone's gonna get a double room as a single. So no one's gonna have a roommate, obviously with COVID going on. Which for me was like super nice because I wasn't looking forward to having a roommate, especially in a super small room. So I actually didn't mind the first semester of being by myself. But I know for you, Drew, you had a roommate, correct?
Yes, I did. I I didn't mind the roommate situation too much. At least going into it, it was just like I I wanted I wanted to be with somebody I knew because it was like then I get to experience college with somebody else. So going into it, I was okay with the whole roommate situation, and we didn't get like shut down like you did, where only one person to a room. They pretty much kept everything exactly the same. The only thing my school put in place was just wearing masks everywhere. That's about it.
That was pretty much my school. Like they're like, yeah, you can go anywhere and wear a mask, but then they like canceled all events. So like there wasn't really anything to do if you went out, unless you were getting food, going to work, or going to if you had a class in person, which was the other thing I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit. So at the beginning of the semester, I had 5 classes. 2 of them were online, but 3 were all in person. So for me, it was still worth going to the dorms because, I mean, majority of my classes were still in person. But throughout the months, like September, October, November, getting closer to the end of semester, all those 3 other classes slowly switched to an online format. So by the end of the semester, so what was that? Like late December, every class was on a Zoom call. So for every day, I'd wake up in my dorm, and then I'd basically do my Zoom calls, and then I would go out to go get food, and then maybe that night if I worked, I would go to my work. But then other than that, there's like nothing really to do. And the fact that you don't even leave your dorm to go to class, it's like, why am I even paying for this if you're just, you know. And then when they had you select your classes for the next semester, I mean, pretty much all of them were online, so that was when I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna move back because doesn't make sense financially. But I'm happy for
Yeah.
you, Drew, that you had some in person still.
Yeah, I my whole first semester went almost the opposite as yours. We started off completely online for every single class, and then as people slowly started getting moved into campus, they started like allowing us to have some of our classes in person. So I had one of them where it was like every other day I got to be in person, and then I had like a lab that I was expected to be in person for, and it started to transition towards online again towards the end of the semester. Our labs did, first of all, because some of our teaching assistants got COVID, so that was fun.
Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just got hard shifted to online again out of nowhere. And then they put aside the last 2 weeks of the semester to be specifically online. So I kind of transitioned back to it as well. But I still, like, I mean, I have an in person class sort of next semester. So I'm excited to go back and get back into the groove and live away from home.
For sure. And then the other thing about I was gonna say with classes that meet like twice a week, and then one of them is online, the other one is in person. It's like, but if you're meeting once a week in person, I feel like you're kind of defeating the purpose of going online the other day. Because it's like you're already exposing everyone to everyone the second day. So I don't know if you're really negating anything. Like it should go full online or full in person for a class, I feel like. Otherwise, it's kind of like not really changing much.
Yeah, for my class that's like that, there's a lot of social distancing that happens, and we still have to wear masks the whole time. So we're not even like really near anybody. Nobody really gets exposed because we're not like they don't take any chances. Everyone stays away from each other. No one even really talks to each other, and my experience from last semester. But everyone just sits there, takes their notes for class, and gets up and leaves. It's just
Yeah. I was gonna say that too. Like
simple.
we're so far apart in class, at least for when I was in person, and then no one wanted to chat or do anything because you're. I mean, one, you're 6 feet apart, so it's kind of hard to talk without yelling almost. So like, the normal college experience, I think for us has been kind of lost because at least for this first year, because it's pretty much nothing like what normally happens.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost impossible to meet people in college now with all this stuff going on. You don't know how other people feel about it. So just reaching out and talking to other people is super difficult to do.
For sure. And like for my school, a lot of the events that they canceled, the ones they didn't, they moved to a Zoom activity versus in person. Because after doing like 3 or 4 hours of Zoom calls, what you really want to do is get on another one for another 2 hours.
Yeah, for sure. My school did some of the same stuff where they just started making things like, I mean, some of the like clubs and events and stuff were still in person, but for the most part, a lot of them got moved to online.
For sure. Well, I think that kind of catches us up to present day. I don't know by 2021 if anyone thought it would still be in the thick of it here, but we are.
Here we are.
I'll be interested to see what happens this September after the summer. I know
Yeah.
there's a few vaccines that have been in the works, but I know there's been issues with those as well. So we'll have to see about that. I know this episode's been a little bit more sad than at least our previous episode, but we have a few more episodes planned, Drew, and I think those are gonna be a little bit more fun. Or a little bit
Oh,
more
yeah.
heated. A little bit more heated depending on how you look at it.
A
So
little bit more passionate.
yeah, passionate's a good word. So everyone can look forward to those. And I guess thank you for everyone watching. And if you haven't watched episode 1, make sure you check that one out as well. Drew reviews Cyberpunk, and I ask him a few questions about that in episode 1. And look forward to episode 3, which is going to be dropped in about 2 weeks on Friday. So thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you guys next time.